Deshaun Watson still with the Texans, practicing sporadically, not injured according to Coach David Culley. We talked about that yesterday. Still not sure what's going to happen there, although I would bet the under on number of games to be played this year by Deshaun Watson for the Texans or anyone else because of the legal process that continues to unfold. And a new front opened up supposedly on Tuesday with the FBI allegedly involved, according to Tony Busby, who represents 22 women who are suing Deshaun Watson. Chris, here is Rusty Hardin, the lawyer who represents Deshaun Watson, called a press conference yesterday to talk about this new wrinkle with the FBI. Here's what Hardin had to say about the FBI's involvement in the case.
In April, the FBI came to us and told us that they were investigating a matter as to whether one of Mr. Busby's clients had committed extortion in the way they were demanding money from Deshaun or what they would do if he didn't pay them. We talked to them. We were not the ones who contacted them. They contacted us. We talked to them. We even let them interview Deshaun. And if y'all can find a lawyer would let his client talk to the FBI, if the lawyer thought his client had done anything wrong or had any exposure, then I'll be very, very surprised.
So the way that Tony Busby set it up, the FBI looking into Deshaun Watson, specifically as it relates to the use of interstate communications, the bringing of people from other states to Texas for these massages that turn into something more than that. And right. Rusty Hardin himself has admitted in the other press conference he held in this matter that those things did happen. You've got Hardin's take on it. We've got an extortion plot here potentially. That's why the FBI is involved. Just another reason to kind of take a step back and recognize this stuff is going to take some time to sort out. Mm-hmm. And it's not conducive to anyone trading for Deshaun Watson. It's definitely not conducive to Watson playing. We kind of tripped over the other day this idea that maybe the league has just said to the Texans, as long as he's not going to play, then we don't have to put him on paid leave and make some big story out of that. I think, Chris, he's not going to play this year for the Texans or anybody else. And his side simply can hope that by the time we get to March, there'll be some clarity that would allow another team to give the Texans what they want.
That's where, like, I'm always coming to here a little bit in this conversation. It's like, yeah, forget this year. Damn, is he going to get this cleared up by next offseason to where a team can make a trade for him and do something like that? I mean, I don't know how long this is going to last, but I just can't, again, imagine any of these teams that are interested in Deshaun Watson, wanting to deal with this situation anytime soon. Certainly not, And then, you talk about, the two teams that, of course, wanted to acquire Deshaun Watson. The Miami Dolphins, the Eagles, I think we both know, and a ton of people in the NFL know that there's legitimate interest there. Hey, but, Jalen Hurts doing okay, looking good in camp. Tua doing okay, looking good in camp. So I just think also, like, that ship has sailed because of Watson's circumstances. And, okay, that's too deep into camp, and those quarterbacks are doing good. It's all going to be about next year. And for I think the safe play for Watson and Rusty Hardin for the sake of Watson's career is just try to make sure you get, like you said, something done where it's February, March, teams will have a good idea where this is going to go, and then hopefully the Texans can get the proper, assets in the trade, and Watson can pick where he wants to go.
The main impediment is the inevitability of a grand jury in Texas hearing the evidence and potentially indicting Deshaun Watson, and then where it goes from there. That's the thing that the teams are paying attention to. This FBI thing is just kind of a curiosity at this point that presumably will lead somewhere, if anywhere, in the next 6 or 7 months. But I really do think March is the timeline. And Chris, from Houston's perspective, assuming that they're willing to pay him $10 million to not play, right? And this is a team that once unloaded a second-round pick to not have to pay Brock Osweiler $16 million. But if they're willing to pay Deshaun Watson $10 million to not play, they're going to get more for him, far more for him in March than they would get now, definitely, even if the legal issue wasn't around. Because right now you've got a very limited universe of teams that would be interested. You get to March, you're going to have, of all the teams that have bad seasons, teams that are thinking, do we move on from this quarterback? We talked yesterday about the Giants And if Daniel Jones doesn't step up, it's time to step off potentially. They got 2 first-round picks they can throw on the pile right out of the gates for next year. You're going to have more teams that can say, okay, we just have to go get Deshaun Watson instead of the small handful that we currently have.
No doubt. You can get a bunch of teams, going after each other and raising the price for, the trade of Deshaun Watson at that point as compared to now. You're right. It's very limited, and it's really risky. And I just can't imagine any team doing it at this point. So I think for really both sides, Watson, Texans, it's probably better if it happens after the year. And it's just too many moving parts right now. I mean, if you're Nick Caserio, I mean, geez, you become a GM, and this is the first real transaction everybody wants to know from you. And whoa, I don't know, what's he worth? I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, he's in a really tough situation, and I think the best thing for him is kind of the scenario you're laying out. Let this play out a little bit. Let the season be over. Let some of these teams realize what they got or don't got at quarterback. And now you can get a handful of them going after Deshaun Watson and maybe get really something that can rebuild your football team down there in Houston.
And again, at the core of this, a serious issue that needs to be properly handled with the 22 individuals that have filed civil lawsuits. I have said for months now, have your reckoning. There's that reckoning word again. A reckoning needs to be had. There needs to be a sense of some form of justice provided to these individuals who clearly felt motivated in some way that something happened that shouldn't have happened. And I understand in an adversarial setting, one side says yes, other side says no. One side says it happens, other side said it didn't. But the smart thing, it's too late now. Cat's out of the bag.
Yeah.
Pandora's box is open.
Yeah.
Once the criminal process takes over, everything else becomes irrelevant. And the thing, Chris, that is the least relevant to any of this, the NFL schedule, the Texans timeline, Deshaun Watson's desire to play football, criminal process does not care. It's going to go forward at its own speed, in its own time, and Watson and the Texans and the interested teams can only hope that 7 months from now they'll have the clarity that they need when the new league year 2022 commences.
Yeah, you're right. That's all they can hope for. I mean, it's some crazy situation. That's all I can really say. Houston, they're in a tough spot. Deshaun Watson, it's not a good look for him right now, certainly. And also, I just think about him as a player, too, going, man, here he is. I mean, he is in the prime of his career, and he's most likely going to miss a full year of football. And I feel for him and from the football standpoint with all that. But, yeah, we got to see how all this plays out and see where it goes. So we'll see.
See, and I come back to this, and I don't want to plow old ground.
Yeah.
But at what point does he say, I just want to play football? And how much of that is tied up in the league saying to the Texans, as long as you don't make us make a decision, we're good here. So you just tuck him away somewhere, and we don't have to have the commissioner's statement that everyone is going to talk about. It'll be on every radio show, every TV show, every website, every newspaper, headline, league places Deshaun Watson on paid leave. See, this all flows from PR, Chris.
I know.
They'd rather not create a news cycle that they put Deshaun Watson on paid leave. They just kind of let nature take its course. So I still because at some point, if I'm Deshaun Watson, I just want to play football.
Yeah, I know.
I don't care if I don't want to be part of this organization anymore. This is the only organization I'm part of if I want to play football. But that's where I come up against that potential wall that's been secretly built that the Texans have said, okay, we understand, Commissioner. We understand what you're saying here. If we don't put him on paid leave on our own, you're going to do it, and that's not good for anybody.
No, I know. There is that. We brought that up a little bit yesterday where I just think about, man, is Deshaun Watson at some point just going to be like, hey, I want to play football and do that? But also, I could certainly see it, putting myself in his shoes a little bit too. Yeah, going, wait, we know he doesn't like the team anyways. He didn't like them before all this. And, to some degree, maybe why he's content too is he's looking at the team going, damn, we're not good, and I'm not going out there to get killed for this group. So maybe that's why he's content kind of sitting in the background right now as the Texans are in total rebuild mode. I mean, not to be disrespectful to anybody there, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but there's really not one blue chip player on the football team right now other than Deshaun Watson. I guess maybe Brandon Cooks is borderline that, but I don't know. So So maybe he's looking at it that way too. Like, you know what? I'll just let this play out. I'm not going to play for that team. I know that with that offensive line and those receivers and our defense and all of that, maybe he is content just sitting back.
I will say this. They do have Laramie Tunsil.
Yeah, that's right. He's a blue chipper. No doubt about it. No doubt.
And they have a very impressive 4-deep tailback situation. Mark Ingram, Philip Lindsay, David Johnson, Rex Burkhead. Now, maybe that would have been even better 2 or 3 years ago, but that's not a bad group. If you're going to do the New England Patriots revolving door, this game it's this guy, this game it's that guy, keep them all healthy, they can have a decent running game. And Tyrod Taylor isn't bad. He did take the Bills to the playoffs a few years ago.
No, I know. Tyrod Taylor, he certainly can do some good things. He is one of those guys that you've heard me say in the past. He doesn't win games, but he doesn't lose games either. And if he would push the limit a little bit as far as taking chances and being aggressive, he might actually win some football games when you're not supposed to. But we haven't seen that from him. But, yeah, it's just a crazy situation. Again, I know you and I have been around this a long time. I don't remember any team or player quite being in anything like this.
No, where the guy's still there.
Yeah.
I mean, with Mike Vick, when that all went down 14 years ago, number one, he got indicted fairly quickly, and then he was just gone. This is all hovering. It's all percolating. Watson's with the team when we know he doesn't want to be with the team. He wants to be traded, and they want to trade him. That's clear, but no one really knows what they can do at this point. I don't know much about the coming season, but I do know one thing. At the end of the first Sunday, either the Texans or the Jaguars will somehow be 1-0, barring a tie, because they play each other. So one of the two teams at the bottom of the division, two of the worst teams right now in football from a talent standpoint, will be undefeated after 1 week, just like the Jaguars were last year before they lost 15 in a row.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.